Welcome to Mr. Beefy's Boxing, or just Beefy's Boxing, where we cover all kinds of boxing news and boxing subjects, where we have the meats by the pounds and covers the fights by the rounds. Before we jump into the video, be sure to like and subscribe so we can get the channel out to as many as possible. Now, on to today's topic. So, whenever you hear Southpaw, you probably think of this. And hopefully by the end of this video, you'll think of this man right here. And before we jump into who this great man was and what he achieved, let's talk about the word Southpaw. So Southpaw is the term for a left-hand dominant fighter. With the right foot forward, right hand leads. The left hand is in the back for the power shots.
A southpaw is a left-hander. If you're a left-handed person, your dominant hand is a left hand. You're probably going to stand with your left foot in the back, your left hand in the back, your right hand, right foot in the front.
Over the recent years, we've had a lot more southpaw champions pop up. Some notable ones would be Alexander Usyk, Tank Davis, Shakur Stevenson, Vasily Lomachenko, and of course Manny Pac-Man Pacquiao. But before all of them, there was the first southpaw champion of the world, and his name was Al McCoy. McCoy was born Alexander Rudolph in Rosenheim, Deerfield Township, New Jersey, on October 23rd, 1894. As a child, he moved with his family to Brownsville, Brooklyn, New York City. That's right, Brooklyn.
Where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn at? Where Brooklyn at?
In Brooklyn, his father found work as a kosher butcher. At age 14, he helped make ends meet by filling in as a boxer for preliminary fights at local boxing clubs when the scheduled boxers failed to show. Ken Blatty speculates that his manager, Charlie Goldman, had him change his surname to McCoy to hide his boxing from his religious parents, who would have objected. Blatty made the stunning observation that for the first 9 years and 139 fights, McCoy was undefeated. This made his winning streak second only to English boxer Hal Bagwell, although the fact that a no-decision bout did not officially count as a loss probably aided McCoy's record. McCoy started boxing as a bantamweight, but fighting as a 138-pound lightweight in 1912. He began to attract attention. He defeated Young Ernie, a competent Philadelphia lightweight, on November 9, 1912 in Philadelphia, winning in 6 rounds. The newspaper that gave him the edge noted that Ernie was too out of condition to match well with the fit 16-year-old. Fighting as a welterweight, on March 2, 1912, in a 10-round newspaper decision, he defeated the more accomplished boxer Terry McGraw, who he outweighed. Fighting on July 3, 1916 in Queens, he defeated Dave Kurtz in a 10-round newspaper decision. Not surprisingly, the 17-year-old's luck took a turn when he fought Young Otto, a more accomplished Jewish lightweight boxer from New York's Lower East Side, 9 years his senior, who would hold a record for most consecutive first-round knockouts. McCoy lost to the lighter Otto, though fighting in at 155 in the light middleweight range. In 1913, he battled even more impressive boxers, though winning far more rarely by knockout. In no-decision bouts well into the middleweight range, he met a Jewish boxer, Soldier Bartfield, who would engage in close fights or defeat most of the great boxers of his era. He also matched with Terry Mitchell, Billy Grupp, K.O. Brennan, Bull Anderson, and the Zulu Kid. The newspapers had him winning all these standard 10-round New York fights, except for a draw with the accomplished welterweight Zulu Kid. He even defeated the exceptional Soldier Bartfield on August 11, 1913, knocking him to the canvas 3 times in the fight. McCoy would never again decisively beat Bartfield, though he would meet him at least 4 more times in his career. Though never winning a world title, Barfield would meet and often defeat more champions and top contenders than nearly any other boxer of his era. McCoy fought Wildcat Ferns to 2 draws by decision in Ohio, where referees could determine the outcome of a bout without a foul or knockout occurring. McCoy will go on to win the middleweight championship. McCoy was originally scheduled to fight Joseph Chip in April 1914. When Joe Chip fell ill, his brother middleweight world title holder George consented to the bout, probably considering it unlikely he would lose by knockout to 19-year-old McCoy. For Chip to lose his title in New York, a knockout would be required. In his last 100 bouts, McCoy had only a 23% knockout rate. Impressive, but probably not perceived as a serious threat to the middleweight world championship. Manager Charlie Goldman wisely advised McCoy to charge for a knockout from the first bell, assuming that Chip would box cautiously early in the first round against Al's unorthodox left-handed style. Taking his manager's advice, on April 7, 1914, McCoy landed a powerful left to Chip's jaw early in the first round, lifting him off the canvas and achieving a victory that probably shocked the bookmakers. The knockout occurred just 1 minute and 50 seconds into the first round. The Pittsburgh Press noted that the Broadway Sporting Club in Brooklyn was only fairly filled, as spectators may have stayed home, expecting a loss or a poor showing by their hometown boy. Robert Edgren, summarizing the last few seconds of the fight, wrote, "McCoy's left fist started somewhere near his knees. He brought it up with all his strength. His body swung upward with a blow as though he had been swinging at a bag. His fist landed fairly on the point of the crouching champion's unguarded chin, performing what I am now calling the world's first Shoryuken or Dragon Punch from the Street Fighter fighting game series." The Gazette-Times noted that McCoy's winning punch was a counterpunch and wrote, "Chip, eager to grasp his opportunity, started a right swing that had all the earmarks of a haymaker. McCoy crossed in with his left, shooting over a hybrid punch, which was half swing and half uppercut, and the Newcastle fighter, Chip, went down flat, his head striking the floor of the ring. Age 19, he became the youngest person as well as the first left-handed boxer ever to win a middleweight world championship. It was also the shortest fight on record in which a boxer had taken a world title from an opponent. As the result of his youth and unorthodox style, many boxing writers and fans considered McCoy's ascent to the world title a fluke. The Tacoma Times were not alone in their sentiments when they wrote 3.5 full years after McCoy had taken the title. Early in 1914, Chip unfortunately ran into a punch in the first round of his bout with Al McCoy, and the latter assumed the title. McCoy was never a real champion and usually dodged anyone who was likely to knock him out. The New York Evening World wrote 10 months after he took the title from Chip, "McCoy has held the title technically, as no one has in turn knocked him out, but as a champion, our old friend Al is a mirth-producing object." His successful defense of the title for 42 consecutive bouts would prove he deserved the honor of middleweight world champion. In fact, at 42 bouts, according to Ken Blatty, McCoy had the longest undefeated streak of any boxer to ever hold a title. While holding the championship, he allowed most of the world's top contenders to challenge him for it. He fought Soldier Barfield twice on November 10th and 22nd in 1914 in Brooklyn, losing by the decision of newspapers in 10-round bouts. Though not gaining a decided edge in the two well-fought bouts, the exceptional Bartfield was unable to land a knockout, and so McCoy retained the title. He took on top contenders Willie Lewis, Willie K.O. Brennan, Jewish contender Emmett Kid Wagner, and Italian Joe Gans, losing only to Brennan by the decision of newspapers in their middleweight matchups. His bout with Lewis on October 13th, 1914, at the Broadway Sporting Club in Brooklyn resulted in a near knockout of Lewis, once a top welterweight contender, in the 4th round. New London's The Day noted, "The bell saved Lewis in the 4th round. He was tottering, incapable of defense. When the bell rang, he came up for the final round groggy, and McCoy consequently knocked him out, using his left to deliver the telling blow in the prior round." On January 25, 1915, he defeated the talented Joe Burrell by the decision of newspapers in a 6-round bout in Philadelphia. Burrell had ended the career of ex-welterweight world champion Harry Lewis 2 years earlier, when Lewis had resumed boxing too soon after being injured in a car accident. McCoy's March 23, 1915 bout with Silent Martin may have been a closer affair, as the Evening News wrote that McCoy had the better of Silent Martin in 7 of the 10 rounds in Brooklyn, though several New York papers gave the close bout to Martin. On April 6, 1915, again in Brooklyn, McCoy fought a thrilling rematch with George Chip, and though losing the 10-round no-decision bout in the opinion of the New York Times, Chip could not knock out McCoy, and so he retained the world title. The following month, on May 4th, 1915, again in Brooklyn, he fought contender Jimmy Clabby in another title match where he successfully defended against a knockout. The New London Day noted that McCoy's primary aim was to prevent a knockout, and that he did not fight with a decided edge. The paper wrote that with Clabby, McCoy entered the ring with the sole intention of employing every means to stay the limit, and he was successful. The Day further noted that the boxing seemed listless, and that when Clabby showed an inclination to exchange blows at short range, McCoy usually declined the issue, but that Clabby was the aggressor at all times. Again, fighting in Brooklyn, he faced top contenders Young, Ahern, and Silent Martin, completing both title bouts without receiving a decisive knockout, and in November of 1915, he held off another challenge from Silent Martin, now later in his career, and losing the title. In 1916, he took on a Young Ahern in another title bout, and rematch with George Chip in a non-title fight, foregoing knockouts in both bouts, but not gaining an advantage in the decisions of the New York Times. His strenuous schedule with top contenders had begun to wear on McCoy. Through 1916, he fared better, achieving several knockouts against opponents who were of less caliber, before taking on critical bout with 1926 world middleweight champion Harry Greb on April 30th, 1917. The Pittsburgh Post had Greb winning every round in a match where McCoy seemed clearly outmatched, but was unable to gain a knockout even in the 10th round, where he attempted in vain to land the telling blow. McCoy finally lost his middleweight title on November 14th, 1917, in his home city of Brooklyn against Mike O'Dowd, losing by a 6th round knockout. The New London Day noted that McCoy was simply unable to fend off the blows from O'Dowd, writing, "The men fought toe-to-toe from bell to bell, not because McCoy wished it thus, but because Mike kept boring in and swinging both hands to the head and body. Al tried to clinch after every lead, but O'Dowd forced the champion to break away by the fury of his attacks. The day further noted that McCoy took punishment in the first 3 rounds, but that by the 4th took much heavier blows to the jaw and the midsection. McCoy was down more than once in the 4th, largely from blows to the face, but managed to knock O'Dowd down once with his signature left hook. In the 6th round, McCoy was down twice from head and body blows, before finally having his cornerman throw in the towel at the count of 6 on his 3rd knockdown. He rematched with future middleweight champion Greb on May 13, 1918, demonstrating his willingness to take on top talent even after his loss of the title, but was again outmatched by his stronger, more aggressive opponent. Though Greb had already defeated some exceptional challengers, McCoy had suffered through 46 defenses, while champion from the toughest of the title contenders. McCoy's later life. Retiring from East Coast boxing, McCoy moved to Los Angeles with his wife, Ruth. Trying his hand at movies, he appeared in a role credited as Pug in 20th Century Pictures' 1933 The Bowery, also appearing in the movie where New York Jewish boxers Phil Bloom, Joe Glick, and Abe Hollanderski, fireman Jim Flynn, and heavyweight Frank Morin. Sounds like the 1930s version of a boxing Expendables. The film involved a rivalry between bar owner Chuck Connors and central character Steve Brody. It was set in the New York Bowery on the Lower East Side of Manhattan around the 1890s and contained a lot of non-professional fighting. Actor George Walsh played real-life character Steve Brody, who indeed owned a bar and won fame jumping off the Brooklyn Bridge, a move that also caught the attention of Jack Johnson, the world's first black heavyweight champion of the world. The other primary character, Chuck Connors, played by Wallace Beery, managed a professional boxer. In a brief bit, Walsh is revealed to be Irish heavyweight boxing champion John L. Sullivan. On October 9, 1937, McCoy appeared in the Night of Memories benefit for Wad Wadhams at Hollywood Legion Stadium. Wadhams was the victim of a stroke and had mounting medical bills. In his career, he had worked as a boxing promoter, matching boxers for legendary boxing promoter Colonel Jack Doyle, who had completed contracts for Jack Dempsey. Other featured boxers included Henry Armstrong, Jack Silver, Jimmy McLarnin, and Jackie Fields. The death of McCoy. When McCoy lost his home and most of his possessions in a fire in 1964, his health took a turn for the worse. Living on only a small state pension, chronic illness restricted him to living in a nursing home. He died on August 22, 1966, in Los Angeles, California. There was another boxer that would take up the name of Al McCoy, who was birthed in 1912, who would later die in 1988, who also comes up whenever you search for Al McCoy, so just be wary as you look for any information regarding him. McCoy's record is a total fights of 159, 73 wins, 27 of those wins coming by KO, suffered only 51 losses and 33 draws, a big bucket of win. Rest in peace, Alexander Rudolph, aka Al McCoy, the world's first Southpaw champion. Well, that was the final bell. The video is coming to an end. Before we end the video, I gotta say one more time, thank you so much for watching. Remember everybody, it's all about attitude. There is no progress without struggle, so stay in there. I've been your host, Mr. Beefy, and you all have been fantastic.